rock fight where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he's ready to pod, and that's no April Fools. It's Justin Hausman.
April Fool's Day. I forgot all about it.
Well, we're recording this on Friday.
Is there a more annoying day? Are you an April Fool's fan?
I feel like I was as a kid, but that's because I was supposed to when I was a kid. I guess, okay, when I was a kid, it was funny. Like, every year, my brother would trick my father into thinking he was putting sugar in his coffee, and it was actually salt. And it was this ongoing kind of April Fool's prank, and he'd get more and more creative every year to try to pull this prank off. That's great. I do not like any of the... We're recording this on Friday, but this upcoming Monday, I may just have to stay off of social media because I'm so sick of, like, it's just going to be, and I also don't like when it's like, oh, it's National, like, Dog Turd Day. Let's celebrate dog turds. Like, just stop. Not everything has to be a holiday that needs to be celebrated. It all drives me crazy. And April Fools might be the worst of it.
It's like every website you visit, not everyone, the good ones won't, but a lot of the, some of the time the good ones do too. I'm just so tired of the, like, you go on, any outdoorsy site and it'll be like, Mount Everest discovered on the moon. And you're like,
yeah. That's it. It's never really ever that good.
I didn't really think about the fact that my kids will probably start getting into April Fools. Like my oldest turns 5 next month, or in about a month. So she's probably old enough. She'll probably hit me with some April Fools on Monday. It'd be amazing. Well,
we're recording this on Friday, March 29th. You're hearing it on Monday, April 1st, which means that in between then and now, we had ourselves a weekend, and that's no April Fools because it also means it's time for America's favorite podcast segment, What is Justin Doing This Weekend, presented by Long Weekend Coffee. So, Justin, what are you up to this weekend besides pranking your children?
You think it really is America's favorite podcast segment?
It is. It's proven. We have science data that proves it.
Well, I've been going through kind of randomly going through photos the other day. On my phone looking for, I don't remember what I was looking for, like an old picture. And I noticed that there's all these shots of me holding up like giant bass from when I used to do a lot of bass fishing. And they were all at the end of March. And so I realized, oh, right, I think if I remember correctly, that's because the eggs start to hatch the moms get really aggressive, and so in the spring, early spring, and like the water temperature changes, so it's really good bass fishing time is what I'm getting at. So I'm gonna go back to bass fishing this weekend. I'm pretty stoked actually. It's supposed to be kind of rainy up here, and that helps, or it can help. It basically masks your poor presentation techniques, even though bass they really don't care that much. But there's some really good bass fishing around here. And it's not the same as like fly fishing a creek or anything like that, which is like this just amazingly poetic kind of grounding experience, but it's still pretty fun. So
it's just like a lake kind of roll up?
Yeah, there's like 4 reservoirs that are all within like a quarter of a mile each other, like pretty close to my house. So
take the kids?
I've not yet. Like I've had my oldest with me while fly fishing, and immediately they just want to hold the rod, and like that doesn't really work. And like, so I don't think they're ready for that. Yeah, I guess I'm sure people take 5-year-olds fishing. I'm sure that they do.
Yeah.
But then I'm not fishing. Then it's just like me showing them how to hold a rod and like not cut yourself with a giant
This is
hook.
you teaching your children things,
Well, I guess I want to. I'm actively looking forward to the day when I can teach my daughter how to fly fish. Like that'll be fantastic. Right. And we're getting close. I know they make little like kid rods that I think have like fake hooks and stuff like that. So maybe I'll go. You know what? That's a good point. Maybe I'll grab one of those and bring her up there with me.
All right, What is Justin Doing This Weekend is presented by Long Weekend Coffee. Do you want to start off your days and adventures and all of your weekends the right way? Then you head to longweekend.coffee. You load up on a giant batch of beans. We recommend the Secret Handshake on this show. I think Justin agrees with me that the Secret Handshake is by far the best long weekend bean. And at checkout, you enter promo code ROCK10, and that gets you 10% off of your first order. People, you need to do this. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers in the last month. Go buy some Long Weekend Coffee. Support the people that supports the Rock Fight, please. Long Weekend Coffee. More weekend and more coffee, please.
Secret Handshake is a really good name.
It's a great name.
It's a really good name.
All right. Well, before we get in the headlines, just a couple updates on what's happening over on rockfight.co, because something really cool happened this week where Justin actually was able to kind of dig up some of his older columns for stuff he wrote for Surfer back in the day, and we started posting them over on rockfight.co. We posted a column called Master of Some from 2019. Do you have any like behind the scenes, like behind the music for Master of Some, Justin? If people want to read it,
yeah. If you are at the point in your life where you've had, I wrote that article about how I had gotten kind of bored with surfing. Not even gotten bored with surfing, but got to the point where surfing was not providing the happiness that it used to, and it felt like almost like a job. And a lot of surfers in their 30s and 40s go through that. I think because it's such unlike any other outdoor pursuit I've ever been involved with. It is an all-consuming thing, and at a certain point, though, the magic starts to fade for lots of different reasons. But so the article is about how finding other things to do, just expanding my toolkit for things to do in the outdoors, not only made my life more interesting and more fun because I had more fun stuff to do, but also made my relationship with surfing a lot more back to where it was when I was younger. And it's still that way today, to where I don't need to surf every day. I don't really care about performance. It's just really fun to be out in the water and to enjoy the experience rather than reflecting on how I could be surfing better, I could be surfing bigger or better waves somewhere, like all the things that you eventually kind of comes around to. And maybe that's the case with like all outdoor sports. I don't know. Sure. Surfing's the only one that's ever been that part of my life for that long. But it resonated really well with readers at the time, and you don't need to surf. I mean, I think anybody who defines themselves by a particular outdoor pursuit at a certain point will start asking questions like, "What comes next?" And that's kind of the impetus behind that piece.
I absolutely related to it. I mean, I agree. I could see how. I don't think it should be controversial for anyone listening to this who doesn't surf to not disagree. Like that surfing is a bit of a different animal compared to some of the other things we do. But just from even just the availability of like if you live in a place where you can surf and how it can become like we've talked about it a lot in the show. Like you can spend all day just like going break to break, look at it like where should I go? Like it just becomes your life. And even then, like working in the outdoor industry for a long time, working for brands, and you kind of do that whole thing where it's like, oh, I'm working for something that supports this thing that I love, whether it's like running or cycling or skiing or whatever. It's easy to burn out. It's easy to be like, I grew up doing this thing, I loved it, or I discovered it and I love it. And now not only do I'm trying to like find time to get out and go for a trail run or a bike ride or go ski or whatever it is. Oh, but also now I spend all day on the phone with retailers or brands or media folks or whatever, right? And being like, oh, I love this so much. And at the end of the day, like, how much do I freaking love this?
That's for sure true.
And it really is easy to burn out even on something that you love. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's unfortunate, but it is true. And, I was working for Surfer. It wasn't like a piece I just submitted. So, that my whole life was just every single day, like, okay, what's going on surf culture today? And it's just after a certain point, you just need something else. And so for me, it was fishing. Oddly enough, talk about fishing again. That was what did it for me. I mean, I was already camping and doing some backpacking and stuff, but it was the something about fishing because fishing can also be pretty all consuming. Sure. And it just gave me something else. And like that opened the door to something else. And that opened the door to something else. And then once you kind of get on that program where that's a nice thing about the outdoor world though, is that like most people I know do a lot of things. Like oddly enough in the surf world, it's like there's plenty of people who just surf. Maybe they snowboard in the wintertime, but I know a lot of people who all they do is surf. That's it, And like mountain bikes have kind of taken a good route. And a lot of surfers are riding mountain bikes these days. Mm-hmm. But that's not. Yeah, I mean, most times, like I just randomly a couple days ago met a guy at the cafe down the street who had like a Johnson Outdoors shirt on, and I was like, oh, Johnson Outdoors. Why do I know them? He's like, oh, they own like Jetboil and all these other like brands. I'm like, oh, that's right. And I'm like, do you work for them? He's like, yeah, I work for one of the brands that they own, and so we sort of started chatting and like, I never met this guy before, but he lives in town. He's roughly my age. And it's like, so like we connected on LinkedIn afterward and I'm like, well, you probably ride mountain bikes, right? Like, you want to go for a ride? He's like, of course I ride mountain bikes. It's just like, and he's like, and he scuba dives, he does this, he does that. So like that is kind of the nice thing about the outdoor world. A lot of us already have other pursuits, but I think anybody who holds on pretty tight to any one thing would get something out of the article. So check it out. And I'll be pulling up some other ones I think are applicable to the wider outdoor community from my old surfer days, because I wrote a column for years, and so there's dozens, if not hundreds of them lying around.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and get them out at least once a month, maybe a little more frequently, but it's rose-colored Hausman. So from the archives of Justin Hausman, it'll be up there. You'll see it. We got a great cover shot for it, because it's if you've listened to this podcast, you'll get it when you see it. And we're excited about that. Thank you for doing that. I think that's a really important addition to the site. I mean, there's other things on there too. You guys take a look. We have a lot of kind of satirical pieces about the industry and outdoor sports. We have like, our regular campfire tales. And please, while you're there, sign up for our weekly newsletter. You missed this past week's. It was epic. topic, I'm sure. And next week, though, every week it comes out. We've got lots of. There's always a couple things that you can't get anywhere else, so we purposely put in the newsletter. We don't put it anywhere else. So click join the mailing list while you're there. So, and now let's get into headlines. We do have one follow-up story that we spoke about last week, and that's the Barkley. So when we recorded our last headline episode, we said there were 7 runners on the course for the last lap of the infamous ultramarathon. Of those 7, only 5 finished, which by Barkley standards is a super high number.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you didn't listen to last week, you're not familiar with the Barkley, just do a quick Google on it. It's incredibly hard ultramarathon in Tennessee. It's very unique even by ultramarathon standards. But the big story to come out of the 5 finishers, the one that mattered the most was Jasmin Paris, who became the first female finisher ever at the Barkley. She finished with only 99 seconds to spare before the 60-hour cutoff. Great finish photos of her. Did you see just like spit coming out of her mouth? Like she's just like.
Did you see how cut up she was?
Oh yeah, dude, their legs are brutal.
Holy smokes.
The terrain down there is gnarly,
dude.
And she had a bunch of series of firsts along the way. She had already completed a Barkley Fun Run in 2022, 2023, which is where you complete 3 laps. This year, when she set out for lap 4, she was only the second woman to ever do that. So only one other woman had even started lap 4. And then she said, and then she also set a new record for the female fun run in terms of time. She was the fastest ever female fun run. And then she became the first woman to finish 4 laps and start lap 5. And this is the thing that I want to hear what you think about this. She had 13 hours left on the clock. And she finished with 99 seconds to spare. And it's like roughly 20 miles, right? I mean, if you know the course. So just like how destroyed she was, how hard this was. It took her 13 hours. You think like, gosh, she might have this.
So when they're doing a lap, is it literally the same exact lap every time? Or
no, that's a good point.
Because they have to find the book with the pages and stuff, right? So each lap is different, right?
Well, it's the same book. The books are, I think, in the same place, but they do send you out in different directions. So there's like a clockwise or counterclockwise way to go. And I think the last lap finishers are always going because a lot of times at the beginning, apparently they'll all group together and kind of like work with each other and kind of find their way around. And then over time, though, they kind of like they send them out at opposite ways, like on the last lap. So like if you and I were there, you'd have to go one way, and he would send me the other way. And so we can't help each other.
Is it all off trail? Is it partially off trail?
There are trails.
Is it off trail at all? Yeah.
Yeah, but there is like there's definitely, and there's also the idea of like, well, if I got to it's faster if I cut through here, even if there's not a trail there.
And you can do that.
You're allowed to do that.
Dude, so insane. I've never seen photos of, I'm trying to think if I could compare, you got to look these photos up. I don't know what I would compare it to other than like stuff from like The Last Temptation of Christ or something.
Yeah.
Like she just looks so beaten and just... it just looks like every ounce of everything was gone. And
when I think of the Barkley, I think of photos of people who even don't even finish one lap and how cut up their legs look. And then you do see people like John Kelly, I think, who's a multi-time Barkley finisher. I think he typically wears either pants or tights. And I'm like, I don't know why you wouldn't. I understand that maybe it's hot, but like everyone gets their legs shredded. Everyone. And maybe you just sort of like, okay, that's what happens here. But like you would think about how like your legs hurt from the effort. And then also the superficial like scratches on your legs, and you got to go back out for another 20 miles.
It's amazing the different levels of get after it that people have. Like, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if are you born with that? Like, does something happen to you at a certain point in your life where you just feel like this compulsion to do these extremely difficult physical things? It's interesting to me, like why some people have that, some people don't. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah. So next story from Explorers Web, they reported on a new service by Space VIP. This is literally one of those stories where like if you'd said, oh, actually this ran on The Onion, I'd probably believe you. But also it's kind of exciting and weird. So Space VIP is going to allow paying customers to float 100,000 feet high to dine aboard a pressurized cabin. You'll be so high up that you'll technically be in space and you'll be able to see the curvature of the Earth. So you'll get a high-end meal prepared by Chef Rasmus Monk, that's apparently a real name, that will, quote, inspire thought and discussion over how humanity can better protect the planet. Each traveler gets a spacesuit or a dinner outfit built by French fashion house Augier, I don't know how to pronounce that, with cutting-edge fabric developed specifically for this mission. So Roman Chiparoka, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry, Roman. Founder of Space VIP said the purpose of this expedition is to harness the transformative power of space travel to elevate human consciousness and proliferate universal space literacy. Sorry. This is why all proceeds will be directed to the Space Prize Foundation, a group that promotes aerospace careers for women in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And if you're interested, the cost per seat is set at $495,000. So, initial thoughts.
Well, I was talking to Stephen Casimiro a few months back about covering space stuff in Adventure Journal, generally speaking, and I was like, there's going to the moon is about as unbelievable an adventure as humankind has ever had, right? Like
name a
clearly.
bigger one, right? I mean, yeah.
And like he brought up a really good point, which is that's true, but it's not accessible. Like nobody else can do it, but those, however many people that have done it, 11 or 12. Yeah. I don't know how many people have walked on.
Are you an astronaut? Then you don't have a chance.
Like there's just no. It's like theoretically anybody could climb. Well, apparently, literally anybody can climb Mount Everest, but like
and poop on it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you can't do that anymore. Sorry.
Well, it's true. But so there is. It's interesting because on the one hand, like to me, there's almost nothing more interesting than space exploration. I mean, that's about as cool as it gets. But like, okay, so you want to do it? Cool. It's $495,000.
Right.
Like that's the cheapest I've seen of any of these random options where you can like go to space for the day.
Yeah, and I like that it's a balloon versus being strapped to a rocket,
I just feel like these guys are all like this. Just does it not feel like every single day is like one step closer to making the plot of the movie Elysium real?
Oh yeah.
And it's like that's what happened. Like the rich people just escaped to space. I mean, like, do you really think that the same people that already right now have the power to like make massive changes are gonna all of a sudden decide to do that because they see the curvature of the fucking Earth? No. They're going to be like, what we could do is just make this way bigger and just like we could all live up here. Like that's what's going to happen. Like the idea that this would be, I'm going to go back to the notes here. Universal space literacy. How is it universal? Universal for whom?
Well, the one thing that if the proceeds really do, if you click on the link for the Space Prize Foundation, like that's actually a thing. Like that was almost what made me want to include this more because it's like, if there's a good outcome here and it's not just a bunch of rich people floating around at 100,000 feet going, hey, look at that, the curve of the Earth. Like, then that's really cool.
That is
But you're
cool.
right. I can't imagine having the ability to pay for this. If like you and I found ourselves like within that capsule with these people, like what would we all talk about?
Why this is a giant waste of money?
Yeah.
I just feel like I've gone from like when I said earlier, I think space exploration is extremely cool. I do. But I also have gone from like, that's all we should care about. Like I get to some degree why people like Elon and probably this guy and lots of other sort of futurists are like, well, we got to get off the planet. I've made that argument before and that like, no matter what you do, the sun expands and the Earth will go. Like, doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how much you conserve.
Our days are
like,
numbered, whether it's
in
some form. Yeah.
So, like theoretically, if like what you really care about is like humanity existing 1 billion years from now, or 5 billion years from now, or whatever it is, you have to eventually leave the planet, and then probably eventually. But then the universe also has a death point, an end point. So then what? You have to like move to another universe. I mean, like to what end? Like this to me is all just like people who just do not accept the fact that we're all going to die. Like that's what this is to me, and it's just like I know it's probably a weird leap to make from this to that, but it's just like can't we just be happy with the Earth? Like can't we just be stoked? Can't we just like conserve what we have and just appreciate where we are and like the randomness of this existing to begin with? And I just don't. I don't know. I don't understand the compulsion to like leave this place behind to go somewhere else. I don't get it.
If there, I don't know how many seats there are in this thing. Let's say it's 6, right? So if that's like $3 million goes to the Space Prize Foundation, excuse me, which then all has like this great. Mm-hmm. If there's sort of if there's a positive outcome that doesn't maybe exist with other things, then that's great. I guess in
but
its
also
own, right?
Just give that money to them anyway.
Well, that was my follow-up thought, right? You could just write a check, and then also this feels very much more to me. Like there's going to be an outcome here that reminds me of the capsule that went down to the Titanic.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That like, I can say like, oh, this sounds better than being on the rocket. I'm like, actually, if I'm going to do this, I think I'd rather just go to space and I'll gamble on the rocket versus I'm going to float up in a capsule. I don't know that they're cooking dinner on.
It seems like wildly tone deaf for one, but it also seems like the thing that I don't love about space, like the privatization of these sorts of space things, is that's ours. Like that's like the sky should be ours. Like I don't have a say in this. Like there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to prevent 1,000 satellites a day from being launched into space. But you see them. I bet we would be shocked if you were able to like go camping. If you were to go back in time and it's 50 years ago and you look at the sky and you look at it now, I bet you'd be blown away by how many more satellites you can see.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And like, that's just going to get worse. And like, I don't think the privatization of space, that doesn't make much sense to me, that you can just like, there's repercussions for the rest of us with this sort of stuff. So I don't love this. I don't love this. I mean, would I like to see space? Sure. I mean, that'd be incredible.
Take the price tag out of it. Would you go?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would love to. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, what an amazing thing.
Pretty cool to see the curvature.
So I mean, I do sort of get that, but just generally speaking, like, I don't know. Maybe it's like, honestly, maybe it's also propping up $200 trail running shoes isn't that different, But like, it just seems like this is just like rich people just pretending to like be doing something good so they can do something like this, which whatever.
But that's an interesting comp, right? Because it's a good point. Like we know that every pair of, and that's coming as a tease for what's coming up on Gear and Beer later this week, right? But it's like we know that every pair of running shoes that we make is going in a landfill probably sooner than most other things we make as active folks, right? Running shoes are like the ultimate disposable athletic shoes for the most part. Like boots, you can say, you can resell it. Athletic shoes are going in the landfill.
Yeah.
That's $200 a pop. This is like, it's like, it's cringy, like it's $500,000 to go up and have dinner in a freaking hot air balloon, and look at, but it's also, the money seems to be going to a good place. Like does the ends justify the means here?
I mean, I guess I should also, I mean, I don't know this guy. Like he could have the best intentions in the world,
What a weird thing though. This is what he's spending his time doing. To your point, like
Rasmus Monk. So the chef just is going to be up in that thing too. Huh?
Was there a kitchen?
Like, why do you need to have a fancy dinner? See, that's the thing. That's exactly it. It's like, I guess the whole point is you're
Five Guys before they get in the balloon. Like, here's your burger.
I don't know. I guess it must. I mean, God, it must be incredible to be that rich. We're like, what are you doing? Oh, check this out. This is what I'm doing this week. And you're just like it's like, oh.
Like, we're excited that we can pay for, like, a family vacation. They're like, dude, I'm making a space balloon.
You're just, like, eating some insanely, like, unnecessarily fancy meal, just, like...
What? As you see, we're passing over the Amazon. That's where these berries were sourced, actually.
Oh, my God, you're probably right. I wonder what it looks... 100,000 feet isn't that high. Like, you're not in... I wonder if it even feels like you're in space.
Yeah, it's right. Apparently, I think at the point, because I don't think there's like you're not gonna feel weightless.
You're not floating.
Sound like yeah. Which frankly, if you could float, then I'd be like, all right, because I would like to know what that feels like.
Fuck,
and I don't want to go on the vomit comet or whatever. Like,
no, that sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible.
Which because everybody really does seem to puke on that.
Yeah, and then you're just like floating around with puke floating around. Like I'm not into it. All right, next story. We had some good news, actually, on the apparel sustainability front for a change. As reported by SGB this week, a new study by ThredUp shows that secondhand sales had a big year in 2023. Some highlights from the report include that the global secondhand apparel market could reach $350 billion by 2028. The U.S. secondhand apparel market grew 7 times faster than the broader retail clothing market in 2023 and is forecasted to reach $73 billion by 2028. And 52% of retail executives polled said they would adopt circular business models if government-sponsored financial incentives existed. And just for some context, I mean, it's still a long way to go. In 2021, the global apparel industry had a total revenue of over $1 trillion.
Oh, wow.
So $350 billion by 2028, 4 years away. Still pretty far behind. But I mean, how recently have we in the kind of the public consciousness been talking about secondhand? I feel like it's a pretty recent thing that it's become like we're talking about it in terms of the billions of dollars, right? It's becoming a more accepted thing to talk about. But anyway, all really good news.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's an incredibly great thing that we can do this. I don't like I will sell stuff on Poshmark sometimes. Poshmark is actually pretty good if you want to buy used outdoor stuff. I sell boots on Poshmark if I don't want them anymore. I bought like rain jackets and stuff on Poshmark. So I'm more of a Poshmark user, and obviously Gear Trade. We've talked about them quite a bit.
Totally. Yeah.
But I mean, it's nothing but great news. I mean, at a certain point, like I don't really buy clothes that much, but
yeah,
like when I do, like I would usually look like at Patagonia World Wear first.
Hell yeah.
And like part of it is, it's not even like I'm necessarily thinking about, okay, like this is great because it's been used and something new wasn't made. It's just cheaper. It's less expensive. So like
totally.
I don't know why you would, like at a certain point you're like, I don't really like it's funny that this is even coming up. The other day I was at having a beer with a friend of mine, and some guy walked in with obviously a brand new sweater and like a brand new pair of jeans, and we're both over like, when was the last time you had that experience? Like, remember you used to just go to the store, you'd like buy like a brand new outfit. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't tell you, and like it would almost seems kind of weird to wear like brand new clothes. So I'm a big fan. This is great. I mean, everything should be like this.
I think when we were talking to the folks at Gear Trade, like that was a big thing for them. It was like how young their consumer base is. Like their average age is like in the 20s. And I think the fact that this is all happening without a lot of mandates, with the fact that it seems to be coming just from demand, especially from younger folks. There was more information in the study about, the influence of the younger generation on this. And I think it's still an opportunity from the outdoor side specifically, because obviously this is the apparel world in general is what we're talking about.
Right,
this is on the outdoor side. But this is where the outdoor industry needs to lead. Like we have it ingrained in us that we're making this stuff, whether you admit you are or you're not, that you're supposedly making this stuff to increase the accessibility for outdoor adventure.
But they are trying. I mean, it does seem like most big brands have either straight up introduced or flirted with introducing some kind of secondhand marketplace for their stuff.
Yeah, I think some of that is kind of box checky for them, but it also doesn't mean it isn't impactful. It is impactful, and it's good for them to do it. And there is no government regulation or no one's saying that you have to do it. It's all kind of consumer response. And the fact that like over half of these retail executives are like, yeah, we would do it if we were made to do it. Basically, it's admitting that we're not doing it on our own.
That's a weird thing to say. I mean, is that like since when do like big companies want government interference in the way they do business? But all right, if that's what it would take. It's
a total admission that they know they should be and they're not.
Can you imagine the political horse shit that would go along with something like that? Like, the big feds are making you wear used clothes. I mean, Jesus Christ, it'd be all over Fox News in 5 seconds.
It would be.
Just like pictures of like dirty clothes. This is what the Biden administration wants you to wear.
Yeah, right. It's just like, like in a gutter, like an old pair of jeans or something.
Yeah, that would be nothing but that on Fox News all the time.
You're absolutely right. But it is these people saying that they would just do it, over half of them and say they would do it. And it's so we still have a long way to go here, but it is nice to see that, like, number one, it's being driven by younger folks, and number two, that like these are real numbers. I mean, it's not even probably, I guess, a drop in the bucket compared to the total value of the $1 trillion market, but it's growing. It's opportunity.
I think there's a pretty good chance that a lot of the sort of breathless anticipation that people had about like Gen Z saving us might actually come to fruition. I mean, if you read like any stat about anything that is bothersome, or that you think should be changed, chances are like 80% of Gen Z agrees with you. We just recorded an episode of Adventure Journal's podcast like 2 days ago, and it was about like the perfect adventure vehicle. And so, we have like 3 different age cohorts, me, Steven, and his son's Gen Z. And he, even though he owns like a 4Runner, like he owns like a gas guzzler, he's desperately trying to find something he could use that will work. And he's like, maybe even a Prius, and like he's clearly reached a point where to him, like me and Steven are like, look, we barely drive these things. Like I put like 4,000 or 5,000 miles a year on my truck tops. Like it's not like a daily driver. I personally don't care a whole lot about the carbon emissions of my truck because I don't use it that much. And that's how I sort of justify it. Jackson is like, I don't care. Like it's to the point now where like I just feel so awful with any carbon emissions. I can't do it anymore. And you look at that, like when we recorded the, I don't want to spoil it, but it doesn't matter. Like we recorded the Gear and Beer podcast, and we talked about non-alcoholic beer, and like that's a huge thing now. Like way fewer kids are drinking than they used to, and like they think of alcohol as like poison, and like it's all like mental health. They're like way better about mental health. Obviously, like things like carbon emissions are huge to them. So there's a chance that like. And I'm sure secondhand clothes is going to be, a big part of their lives. So they may save us after all.
They might. Come on, youth of America, hurry up. Jeez. I'd like to see this happen before I die.
My kids need to grow slower. But yeah, everybody else needs to hurry up.
All right, our last story. Not long ago, we covered a headline that broke incredible new ground that people who spent more time in the sun had a higher risk of skin cancer. We filed that under
Except
no
for me.
fucking shit, except for you.
Yeah.
Well, we're back on no fucking shit corner because this week CNN reported on the astounding and shocking new study that regular exercise, Justin, guess what? Associated with less insomnia. A doctor who was not involved in the research was quoted in this article as saying, the study may give health professionals another tool alongside medication and therapy. I'm like, what? Who's funding this study? I'll tell you the answer. Yes. More exercise will help with you with your insomnia.
I want to make fun of this with you, but here's the thing. If you're like totally sedentary, this probably isn't obvious.
I think I had an issue with the line, it'll give health professionals another tool along with medication and therapy. Why aren't health professionals, why aren't they the ones saying no fucking shit? Like,
that's true.
It's like I tell all of them to go for a walk, but no, we're busy writing prescriptions.
Well, I will say, I mean, there is a difference between like your doctor and your therapist. So like, where does this fall? Like insomnia, is that treated by a doctor or a therapist? I honestly don't know.
Maybe both, frankly, depending on what the cause of it is.
Yeah.
You know what helps though?
Getting out and go for a run.
Yes.
Go for a mountain bike ride.
Walk up the street.
I agree with you, no shit, but like it's actually, as someone who's been in like therapy for a lot of my life, like it's been really nice to see this like revolution in understanding how being outdoors and how moving your body can really help. I mean, I've written a dozen articles about this, about, doctors prescribing hikes, like you could go on Lexapro or you could take a hike or do both, whatever. Right. But like, there's like actual mountain bike therapy groups now where you can, like, a therapist who's a mountain biker will get like a few people together and they'll just go for a ride and they'll talk about their problems. But like at the end and I've written before about how, like when I'm suffering from pretty serious anxiety, I'll just ride my bike more. And it's like at the end of the ride, you're so tired. Like it doesn't cure whatever it is that's like causing it, but it's a great treatment. And so, I mean, to me, this is kind of along those same lines. And what else is the cure for insomnia? Taking like a sleeping pill? I mean, that sucks. Yeah, I've done that. It's not fun, But honestly, I really do think that we're fortunate enough to understand that like moving your body helps basically every other aspect of your life. But so many people are sedentary. Like, no,
you're right about that. I think maybe the issue is just with the headline when it's like, study shows that moving helps with insomnia or whatever it was. I was like, oh, come on. Like, what are we doing?
But it's wild how much of science is like that, where you're like, well, yeah.
like no shit.
But I don't know.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that though. I mean, I think about. And it's also really hard, too, by the way, when you're in those spots to think I should go do something like this.
Oh, dude, it's like the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah,
like everything is like, especially if you have insomnia, Jesus Christ, like all you want to do is lay down probably because you're probably tired all day because you didn't sleep. But like, oh my God.
Is there a worse condition, frankly, than insomnia? I mean, in terms of like, obviously there are worse conditions, but like, is there something, think about just disruptive, if you are able to live a moderately normal life.
No. I don't think
what would be a worse condition than insomnia?
I mean, obviously that's not like insomnia doesn't really hurt you necessarily. So yeah, like.
But think about when you take like a red eye somewhere and how you feel the next 2 days, right? Now that's your life.
If you're in a position where you can nap, you can kind of maybe deal with it. But I agree with you. God, what a horrible. There's almost no worse feeling in the world than if you already know you have insomnia. Yeah. And it's 2 a.m. when you're awake. Yeah. Oh.
I saw a great meme, I think it was on Threads this morning, of like Yoda with his eyes closed, but it's like successfely making it to the bathroom in the middle of the night without and still feeling sleepy. Oh, that feeling where you're like, just keep your eyes closed. It's okay. Just get through this, pee, and then get back into bed and not be wide awake.
Have you ever had insomnia while you were camping?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I definitely had some rough nights camping.
Well, sure, but usually because you're uncomfortable, it's in a different place. I mean, like the first night's sleep, but I'm like waking up constantly. I'm not like not falling asleep. You fall asleep and you just wake up every hour.
Usually you fall asleep at like 6:30 at night, right?
Yeah.
You just crash.
But I can't think of a single time where I was just like tossing and turning in a tent or whatever. Yeah. Just not being able to sleep because I'm just wired.
Right. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, yeah, you're not causing, you're right. Usually you're falling asleep, but then you wake up and you have to pee. Actually, the most disruptive thing is when you have to pee because you're trying to, I can make it to morning and you should just go. That's the worst.
Nothing worse. Nothing
just
worse than
the worst. And it's the coldest part of the night. Although I've had some of those times then when you get out and you realize that like, holy shit, the moon's out or the moon's not out
dude.
and the stars. Like the best views are always like at 3 a.m. when you're taking a leak, you know?
So this is going to sound insane, but often if I'm camping by myself, I will not drink water or I will not pee before I go to bed because I want to wake up at 3 a.m. so I can see that. Because otherwise I won't. Like I'll try to set my alarm.
See, I could totally pee and I'll
I'm gonna
still
wake up
at 3.
I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. and like come out and see the stars. But no, I'm fucking not. But like if I like drink an entire Nalgene right before I go to sleep and I have to wake up at 2 or 3, like you're right. There's nothing better.
All right, well, okay, no fucking shit corner, but mostly for the copywriters over on CNN.com.
Yeah, do better with your headlines.
Headlines. I was just like, yeah.
But also, if you are struggling, go for a ride.
That is so true.
Go for a ride right now.
Just drop what you're doing. Go for a walk. Go for a ride. Just move your body. It will help. So, all right, man. Well, we can wrap it up there. Anything to talk about before we head out?
We're coming up on the eclipse.
Yeah. Are we going to see any of it? I think we're kind of pretty far away from it out here, aren't we? Isn't it kind of like center of the...
Yeah. No, I don't think we see. Well, I mean, good question. We'll have something. I mean, it'll be like you can still look through a.
Should we record a podcast during the eclipse?
Maybe, because I mean, if aliens are going to come, it's going to be during an eclipse, right? So like, we should probably be
clearly
just be prepared just in case.
All right. Well, before we move on to that next podcast, which should be this past Friday's latest gear and beer episode of the Rock Fight, head to rockfight.co and sign up for our newsletter. Like we said, you can get stuff from Justin Hausman. You can get stuff from Signet. You get stuff from all sorts of little like oniony kind of commentary stuff over at rockfight.co. Sign up for the newsletter. And it's always a good time over there. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And he's here to take us out. He doesn't have insomnia because he's tired from all that rocking he's doing out there. It's Krista Makes with the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock Fight.